Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 22nd, 2024 at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies that I literally guide just about every movement I make on. Now, with this said, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have worked for literally thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending entirely on their own efforts. So, before we get into it, we are looking today at healing, literally healing and the universe around you, meaning what you do in your world as you get your life organized. Like we discussed yesterday, it's going to affect the society around you, but it's also going to affect the alien life, the different species, off-worlders, ancient races. You get the idea. Okay. Now, right now, and this is nice. What I'm seeing now is we are now starting to see, when I look at the subscription and subscribers, we do seem to be on a slow, and that's okay. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, fortunately, I'm not in a race. Okay. I used to actually do a show on with one, but that's beside the point. But when we take a look at this, and before I get into it any further, as a matter of fact, we are going to look at this and go, whoa, you are in with the gold. Hopefully things are going well for you. And look at that. Nathan is in early, listening from work. So I'm betting dollars to donuts. It's still busy as all get out. Now, where is Nathan's show? Here we are. This is the link to Nathan's live stream. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. It is by this increased communication line that we are going to find things change for the better. Now, with that in mind, let's see. We've got Nathan here, and that's where we're stopping for the moment. Or more to the point, that's the people that are in the building right now. Now, the nice part about it is when we take a look at this, at the way this world is. Steve, you are in with the bronze. Welcome aboard. I trust everything is going well on your end of the world. Now, yes, I keep looking over there because that's where the monitor is that I can actually read. So it works out kind of conveniently. When you take a look at the way your life is, okay, you start straightening yours out and you will affect everything around you because quite literally everything is connected. And Joseph Ranson, you are in with honorable mention. Now, I've got a couple of emails. As a matter of fact, where did I go? Well, I'm right here, but that's beside the point. Brain's on hold, apparently. That's the one I need. Now, I've already got the door and the window open to see if that helps with the signal. Don't know if it will or not. Oh, sure. Grab that and don't grab the pen to write with. Yeah, I should have thought about that and just grab a needle, and that way I can draw with blood. Bad idea, by the way. But when we take a look at your life, oh, sure, not this. Well, that figures. Well, that's okay. Nice thing about having pens. Oh. Took them out already. Now, as we get your life organized, it will have an impact on everything around you. And Joe, how you doing? So Joe's going, so anything that happened in the past at night back there has to be paranormal. I'm presuming that this means that you had actually came across some information or came across some revelations. There is that. Couple of things I best get done. I do have a list of things to do, but where are we here? We have Joe Stewart. We are not going to try and find this right now, but I've said it before, but right now, notice the clipboard again. Okay, we will get you your your newsletter, and the next thing, right as soon as I do that, Joseph, I did see your email come in. Now I did something absolutely screwy. I have no idea how I did it, but I went from like 15, 20 emails in my inbox. I had to move the contents of one of the other boxes over, because actually more than one, because I've got over 700 emails in my inbox now. It was like literally in a matter of moments. So yours is right near the top of the list, so it will be dealt with as soon as I get Joe's dealt with. Now, here's the neat thing about it, about this whole setup with watching what happens with you. People have asked me why would the off-worlders be interested in us? Well, in a nutshell, here's what it is. When you look at this level of civilization that we've got right now, okay, we are looking at a phenomenal opportunity for other races, okay, to study, other races studying xenosociology. Okay, this is a fantastic time for it, because from the Xenosocioeconomic Society, okay, from that standpoint, human civilization is on the verge of doing one of two things, and this is where you come in. Okay, it is on the verge of either jumping to the next level, as in interplanetary travel. Now, something you got to realize, we are looking at something that is still likely 30 to 50 years away. Okay, which means my kids are likely to see it. Okay, myself, I'm going to push to see it. But bear in mind, since I don't watch the news, I may miss out on a fair chunk. Okay, but the more you straighten out your world and the more you reach out and communicate with other people, the better off, or the more let's try English, the clearer that transition is going to become. Net result, drawing more attention. Absolutely there, Joseph. Joseph Lorenzen is just letting us know, healing, whether it is physical, emotional, or spiritual, often begins with a shift in perspective. Absolutely. Which is why we have a free newsletter called Positive Perspectives. I'm not interested in telling you the world's going to end. Well, actually, I will. The world's going to end. In, as far as I understand, somewhere around 1 trillion years or so. I think that was the calculation. But let's face it. My suspicion is you're not going to be here. You personally, in this body, are not likely to be here 1 trillion years down the road. You know, so we take a look at it. We have Positive Perspectives, which is a newsletter. We have Positive Perceptions, which, thanks to LA Moon, is what we call this. You know, this is what we call this live stream. And I tell you, you guys have been phenomenal in your support. So now what we're looking at is take a look at the energy in your house, okay, in your primary living space and or workspace. Okay, one of the neat little things, now we've talked about interacting with energy in order to accelerate your healing. Now here's the neat thing. Now we've talked about putting your hands together. Notice, put your hands together. If you are Christian, you still go to church, you still do a lot of praying. You're taught to put your hands together. What you're not taught, in all likelihood, is that by putting your hands together, you are creating a solid energetic link on the spiritual level. And by simply focusing on the one word, heal, you will accelerate the resetting of your own body, your own energy levels. And as you remove the clutter and the stuff that is in the way, okay, you'll find your energy levels climb. You know, one of the nicest things I've found is that when you are open, when you do communicate clearly with people regarding your own boundaries. And by the way, even for those of you that are sitting there going, I think I've been abducted, but I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Do it and do a count. If you've got all your fingers, all your toes, okay, if you don't have any missing organs, it's a good thing in my opinion. Okay, now on the whole, when these off-worlders do the what you guys are calling abductions, okay, when they do that, they are looking for the impact, included in the impact they're looking for in your own life. They are looking for the impact that their presence is making on life in general. You know, so there is a whole lot going on. LA Moon is just asking, does it matter if a person speaks aloud during healing, or will silence do it? The answer to your question, LA, is this. Okay, first and foremost, not at all. Now, I approached the whole situation that you're referring to by talking to a priest one day. Okay, he was a Catholic priest. And I walked up to him and I said, look, I understand that if you require spiritual healing, spiritual forgiveness, you go to the church. Okay, you go into the church, you go into the confessional, and you talk to a priest. Now, I understand wholeheartedly that process works. Okay, but, and I said, that's the way it's laid out. And he goes, absolutely. I said, that's acceptable, right? He goes, that is the way we do it. I said, okay. Now, what happens if that same priest is on the doorstep to that same church, and in his mind's eye, in his head, he does the appropriate prayers, the same prayers, word for word, that he would use in the confessional. He's sitting on the doorstep of the same church. Okay, the same gentleman comes to him and asks for a blessing. If that same priest sitting on the doorstep says those words in his mind, in just standard street clothes, not in the accepted robes, okay, but different clothing. If that same priest uses the same words in their own head, even though they're not saying them out loud, okay, is this acceptable? The priest looks at me and goes, absolutely not. That priest has just broken his vows and will surely go to hell for it. I looked at him and I said, that does seem a little off kilter. And the priest, he never walked out. He goes, that's the way God has it. That's the rules that you follow with God. Now, needless to say, actually, it probably is needless to say, I dropped the topic and I walked away. Okay, because I will tell you, number one, God doesn't, he didn't lay it out and say you have to do it X, Y, Z. Okay, he gave you freedom of will and freedom of choice. Okay, yes, he will pay attention. Besides that, he doesn't have vocal cords himself, by the way. Absolutely. And, Joseph is just pointing out that incorporating vocalization into daily life offers a profound opportunity to reprogram one's life program, fostering healing, self-expression, and overall well-being. Now, here's the thing. Okay, for those of you that have such neat little addictions as alcoholism, drug addiction, overeating, smoking, and so many more things. If you sit down, there is a simple way of doing it. Now, do this in tandem with whatever other method you're using. Okay, and by the way, this same tool that I'm offering you is the exact same tool that I offer off-worlders for their own types of drug addiction, their own penchant for drawing themselves into a violent path. You literally take a recording device, whatever device you can find, and you literally repeat into it. And we're just going to use smoking as an example. Okay. As a matter of fact, in this case, I'm going to use drinking alcohol as an example. Okay. So you grab your recording device in your own words. You literally go, I no longer desire to drink alcohol. Period. That's where it ends. I no longer desire to drink alcohol. With that in mind, repeat that same sentence or partial sentence, however you want to put it, for a solid half hour. That's all there is to it. Boring as all get out. Once you've done that, every night thereafter, okay, when you're done reading, you're done playing video games, you're done watching shows, whatever you're done doing, okay, and you're ready to go to sleep, take that recording device, hit play, leave it run low. Absolutely. Leave it run on a low cycle. And what you will find happen is it will reprogram your subconscious so that you cut back on your drinking, drugs, smoking, whatever, to the point that you stop the excess without withdrawals. And yeah, you'll notice I did say without withdrawals. I also did not say you require an operation or medication. This is something your body will heal. It just requires direction. Now, Joe Stewart is just going, I've been to confession plenty of times. It does take tremendous courage to do so. Absolutely. But here's the funny thing about it. And by all means, go to confession. If it is helping you go, where the anxiety is coming from, where the requirement of courage is coming from, is God doesn't judge. Okay, I know you've been told he does. You've been guided down a, shall we say, somewhat complicated path. The anxiety you suffer going to confessional is you are dealing with a human. And humans do have a very viable option of being judgmental. One of the other things we have to remember is that with your life changing direction, like mine is changing direction because I've literally decided I'm not having it run the way it is. The way it's been running just isn't working for me. But let me ask you this. In your mind, have you picked any sort of a goal, any sort of a path that you would like to see your life fall down and fall through and follow through on? I'm thinking I should slow down my speech so I quit tripping over. What do you think? Jenny, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I will tell you, in my case, yes, I've got minimal income, no question there. Okay, but I have chosen, I am going to build an empire. Okay, I intend it to be global. I intend it to last generations. Yeah, I realize I'm 61 already. Well, I'll be 61. And where are we? We're on the 24th. So in just shy of 3 weeks. Okay, but that said, there is no reason I cannot do this except my own hesitancy. And you guys have helped immensely with that. Now, something I am starting to work on, because I've already started working on drawings and what have you, in order to start getting some of the pictures that I've seen, as in the rooms I've been in, the different hallways. I've got a stick to start with physical renditions. And I am not a trained artist, which you'll get to see in time. So I'll be dealing with that without any problem. But I'm building an empire. Publishing company, healing center. I will be dealing with a school that deals with a lot of various things. Am I going to do it via the standard traditions? Not a prayer. Okay, the people setting the standard traditions up, quite frankly, have gotten lost. So I'm rebuilding on my own. Now, let me ask you this. And I would love to see the responses in the chat room. At the very least, in the, if you take a look at in the comments, okay, at the very least, point out what you're working on in the way of a life-changing program. Now, bear in mind, if your house is full of clutter, life-changing can be as simple as removing the clutter from your living area. Okay, this is just the way reality works. And again, don't take my word for it. When we are looking at the off-worlders, now here's something neat. Let me see if I can pull that down without hurting myself. Now, yeah, that worked well. That's called Dizzy. Now, you'll notice this neat little thing. When you're looking at a Martokian starship, this is what it looks like. Okay, standard disc, very much like the reticulan, with the sole exception. Now, this top, this bubble here, is a lot smaller, or is a lot bigger, because on the reticulan, you have this neat little, on the Martokian starships. Okay. On the Martokian starships, you have this neat little cap. Okay. Now, this bubble right here is a lot bigger. Okay. These ships, depending on the ship, can be anywhere from a 2-man pod to a 15 man or bigger. Because what these are designed like is this. You've got this, which is your observation deck. Okay, the bubble on top of it. You've seen these ships before, I'm sure of it. Okay, if they get into a problem, this will detach and this little ship will go away, leaving all of this and what they do if they've got to abandon it, is they'll set it on a drift heading for the sun, whereby nobody's getting it back. Viking, how we doing? Absolutely. Now, something Vikings just saying perception is reality. If you perceive something as impossible because you were taught by others that it's impossible, even though it is possible, you will never achieve the impossible. Never, I don't buy to, but the principle is absolutely correct. Okay. Ultimately, it boils down to this. Whether you believe you can accomplish something or you believe you cannot, inevitably you're likely to prove yourself right. Unless something along the lines, of what happened with Post-it notes. That nobody thought about it. It was created by an accident, from my understanding. Okay. I personally really like the way that the United States military does it, where they go, the difficult we're already doing. The impossible just takes a little longer. Okay. Now, what I'm working on is building an empire where everybody gets the advantage of actually being able to move forward. Took that out of there. I gotta see something as my brain just went into overdrive. I look in that. Oh, good. I've got that money, so that'll be moved. Now, I was just checking because I've got it, and that reminds me, where did it go? And we take this. Okay, just a couple of goals of tasks I've got to do as soon as I get done and finish the stream. Okay, now one of the neat things that I found here. Well, and the funny thing there, Joseph. The funny thing there, my father always told me, that you shoot for the stars. You may only get to the moon, but you're still getting higher than what you thought you could. And Jenny, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, something that may help you if you're not doing it already, when you're reaching out to them, put a pen, grab a pen and paper, or if you type without looking at the keyboard, sit down with a keyboard and literally write out whatever comes to mind in answer to the question you're asking. Okay, it doesn't have to come out in perfect English, but you will find that helps bring things into balance. The thing is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you take a look at UFO sightings, there's a neat little correlation. People see the UFO sightings of all kinds of people, but every time, and do your own research, my understanding is that every time that Mars reaches its closest point, okay, now bear in mind, Mars is the homeworld of the Martokians. No, they are not on the surface. They were, but they're not. But every time that Earth reaches its closest point to Mars, or vice versa, what my understanding is that reports of UFO sightings jump through the roof by almost triple the normal levels. Okay, and what happens there, the reason it happens is because the Martokians literally will send their ships over. Okay, they absolutely will send their ships over. They have class excursions. Okay, and I know that sounds absolutely whacked. I know this. Okay, but, and I brought this down for a reason. The big one I've got is up front. It's a pain in the neck to get down here. So, when they come down, they'll come down, put this saucer in orbit. They'll take a couple of the students, pop it off, and take it down. And yes, you'll notice the connection there. Okay, you'll notice there's a neat little connection between this sort of configuration and the separation, and the separation on Star Trek, especially Next Generation, where they show the ship coming apart. Okay, now, no, I am not bringing this down, but that's not a bad idea, is it? Taking a picture of this and actually popping it into positive expand perspectives. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. The funny thing there, Joseph, is this one. Like, I'm not looking for life size, but this one I stumbled across at the secondhand store, and I went, gotta have it. Nope, don't have the price on it anymore. But this one's really light, But I'm going to be taking this, and I think that's not a bad idea. Show you another neat little use for that. Because here's the thing. We take this one. Okay. Now, I've got this UFO because it was built. It was easy. I don't know who built it. Haven't got a clue. But I take that off. And I take a look, and you look in there. Okay, it's hollow. Sorry, no little aliens inside. Okay. Let me just find out something here. Don't have to go very far. Now I can only give a rough estimation. Yeah, don't want to do that. That little saucer is approximately 7 inches in diameter. The big saucer is approximately 15. But here's the neat part. Look, I go in here, pull this out, and now I do this. This becomes a neat little repository for money. And that's 2. I think that's 2 more there. Nope, I gotta hang on to those. Now, what you've just seen is an interesting little cash box. Okay, I can take this now, and it sits up there out of the way. But let's face it, I've just thrown it by, and I'm not going to be able to show you, come to think of it, because the second I tilt it, it drops out of sight. But now I can start looking at it and going, okay, let's make it go elsewhere. Now, see, if I had a green room, or if I knew how to do it, we can do this, and we now have a flying saucer. Of course, I can throw it over my shoulder, and it'll really be flying. Or is that called falling with grace? Now, that's just one of the neat little trinkets that I keep. Okay, am I watching for more? Certainly. But the reality of it is this. When we start looking at changing your life. Now, as you can tell, if I don't believe in off-worlders, I'm doing a heck of a job, in my opinion, of faking it. Robert White, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I'm Joseph. I am presuming this means that you have a 3D printer. I am looking at evolving things now. My next month is pretty much a shambles. Okay. Because my next 3 weeks is set to get to Reno. After I get back from Reno, we're going to put a whole pile of things in motion. Yes, several. I do really well. I've got several pens and pencils, and I'm running low on the pens. But I have started. I like what you did there, Robert. Robert White goes, that issue of, you throw it over your shoulder and it will fly. Right. Robert goes, that's called gravity. I would love, I am intending on building my ability to draw, but I've got to start. And by the way, this doesn't change what one individual and I were in particular were talking about getting an artist for positive perspectives. Okay. Again, it really boils down to this. Because I don't charge for it, it is simply a way of getting somebody's name out there. Okay. That's the best I can do in the way of payment. Well, yeah. But, it's neat if you think about it. Let's go get that again. I like this thing. It's light enough I can actually work with it. But if you take a look at the shape of this thing, okay, now most of you remember what a frisbee looks like. Okay, now there is no way I'm going to throw this because it's a light type of wood. I have no idea what type. Okay, but if you take it and you throw it, take a look at the rounded bottom end of it. And what we've got is something that will skip across the surface of the water without a problem. With that in mind, like I said, I'm looking at it this way. I've got a number of pictures now that are coming into balance. Whoop, I'm going to fall down. I got to quit turning around because I'm starting to make myself dizzy. And no, sorry guys, I'm not blind. I never have been. Here we go. Storm goes, the artist I spoke to you about has submitted some samples. Oh, perfect. I appreciate that there, Storm. On the plus side, as far as that goes, when I get done here tonight, I'm actually not booked for anything for the evening. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. But I am looking at this going, okay, we've got to bring attention. Well, we don't have to. The majority of people, are very simply focused on, oh no, we're going to be invaded. We've got to be prepared to be invaded. Don't bother. Number one, they've been here for literally millions of years. Okay. Number two, if they were planning on invading, you won't know about it anyway. So you may just as well focus on the other side of life. How am I going to live? How am I going to make my life more enjoyable? And I will tell you, one of the things that the off-worlders that are watching are doing is they're watching how humans face adversity. Okay. I really appreciate that vibing. The reality around here is we are doing our best to make absolutely certain this place stays a safe place for everybody. Now, I'm pretty certain you read the guidelines at the top of the page. If you desire to get in touch with me to get the free newsletter, and it is free, it will remain that way. Okay. If you go to the link at the top of the stream, you'll find Buy Me a Coffee. Okay. That is the only way people get the newsletter is by asking directly. Okay, but just to bring you up to speed, if you didn't see it, a few months back, we had a massive problem with a troll attack. Okay, net result: Storm LA, and Nathan are in the bin. They are the moderators. They've been told point blank they see a problem, whether it is with a newcomer or an old one, whether it's with a viewer, a listener, or a moderator. Doesn't matter. If they cause a problem, especially in Storm and LA's case, they have been authorized to remove them, so they're not a problem to me before I have another heart attack over it. But what I'm starting to do, and I've already started adding it to the newsletter, is the idea of looking at these different races and going, okay, yes, the majority of this particular race is one way. Okay, but every race, even in the most volatile of races, I have found people that are on the other extreme. For instance, amongst the Teklik, which are a vicious race, okay, I have found pacifistic artists. Pacifistic or pacifist? I don't know. Okay, but I can find out, because that just confuses me when I do that. Oh, there we go. Hey, it is a word. Bonus. What is a pacifistic person? A person who opposes the use of war or violence to settle a dispute is called a pacifist. Now, here's the funny part. I am absolutely 100% against war in most cases. War does not bring peace. And you should hear some of the conversations I have with some of these races out there, not the least of which are the Kamalians and the Moldars. Okay, Kamalians and Moldars are both violently aggressive. Okay, and like I tell them, war will not bring peace. It will bring quiet. Okay, now understand something very important. When you take a look at the Moldars, okay, the Moldars are some of what people would call some of the lowest forms of life form. They will abduct people for slavery. And yes, this is why some humans get abducted, and other races for that matter, will get abducted and sold into slavery or into a zoo. Yes, that's a negative thought. But think about it. Humans do this to animals and fish. All that, oh, I'm being put in a zoo. It's kind of an unpleasant thought. But these same conversations I have with you guys, are the same conversations I have with other races. Okay. Now, of course, the one conversation that I never have, there's one race that we never talk about alcoholism. Okay. Oddly enough, go into your mythology books. Whenever you read about dwarves, everybody talks about them always drinking. 3/4 of their food is fermented. Okay, these guys, it's not a question of whether they drink, it's a question of how much. Now, let's stay focused on that, shall we? You know, one of the neat little things
Okay, everybody, stand by for a minute. We'll get it back. Hang on. We're working our magic here.
Okay, but yeah, when we are dealing with the dwarven, I don't need that. Thank you very much. When just a pop up, it showed up right in the middle of my screen. Absolutely, LA. You know, the funny thing about it, when we take a look at the dwarven race, they are very much like what our mythology says. They are short, often short-tempered, okay, bearded. They love their fermented foods, okay, whatever it is. And rest assured, there is a very big difference between being the fermented foods that dwarves like and the decaying foods that many Muldroks will eat. I like the way you put that there, Ellie. We put the fun back in dysfunctional. You know, I'm always on the lookout for sayings that really hold and that we can toss into positive perspectives. Okay. And, give people something a little different to look at. Different as in more enjoyable. So we are just borrowing that one. Ultimately, come on. Ultimately, it boils down to this. When you look at these different races, every one of them has similarities to humans. All of these races, every race in the Galactic Consortium that I'm aware of. Okay. Oh, why don't we do that? Every member of the Galactic Consortium, and there's in excess of 2,500 that I'm aware of. Okay. All of them have very similar situations to humans. They've all been through the same thing mankind is currently going through. As in, they've had their civil wars, they've had their drug addictions, their crime lords. Ellie goes, we may as well laugh as cry. Sets a different tone than getting all bent out of shape. Don't tell that to a chiropractor. They seem to get paid for it. So one of the things I'm working on right now is getting these little odds and ends. And I asked this the other day, okay? And I realized from my standpoint, clearly my mouth is going to go into gear anyway. I do, just a pointing note here, Joseph Lorenzen. I did read the top of that email. Okay. And yes, I do get sidetracked. I'm pretty certain, but I'm pretty certain that's just a state of mind. I'm just completely lost. But what I do know, I was actually tested for ADD, ADHD, all kinds of other illnesses, mentally speaking. Every shrink that's analyzed me has said the same thing. You're perfectly fine, except for your vocal temper. And rest assured, that can be a problem. one of the things that we have to look at is when the off-worlders are watching what we're up to. You take a look at just the emergency relief. Okay, when there is an earthquake, when there is a tornado going through your area, how long does it take the people after the initial storm hits? How long does it take the local people to start pulling together? Okay, in order to dig out of the rubble and rebuild. Okay, I will tell you this. I've talked to many of the Kinlar. Now, the Kinlar from this end are about, I can't show you there. They are approximately 3 feet tall. They look very much like oversized wharf rats as far as Earth goes, except for the fact they pack around a lot of technology, and they will literally, even in the middle of a war, they will kill each other in order to get the kill count. I killed 15 people. Yeah, 3 of them were my squad mates, but I killed 15. That's how they mark their status. Okay. Thankfully, humans on the whole don't. Now, yes, there are some human gangs that will literally they get a tattoo to mark how many people they've killed. Okay. To my way of looking, this is not a mark of honor. Okay. Yes, it's a mark. It is absolutely a mark of, if you will. It's something to note, because clearly the more of these marks that the person has, the more willing they are, or the more prone they are to go down that road. But what I have found is that people on the whole what do we got here? LA goes, yeah. LA goes, I guess I'd get rid of a goal breaker. Did I see somebody? Oh, Gimli. Yes, exactly, Robert. That still only counts as one Gimli. The fact that you take out a ship is only one kill. Okay. Yeah, and yes, I actually have that book. That was The Hobbit was the first. Well, that was The Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit was the first book I read. Okay. Now, and I'm going to ask you guys this. Okay. Now, I've got it laid out very simply. I don't even have to ask. All I got to do is decide. Because, right now we're looking at the impact that we're having here on the UFO community. Now, yes, mankind, Earth, humans are being looked at as potential members of the Galactic Consortium. They are being considered. Okay. And in many cases, they are being guided. Okay. Because what's happening is the races of the consortium have realized that humans bring one thing to the table that other races have thus far not brought. And that is this essentially undeniable drive to be successful, even in incredibly annoying odds. Okay, humans have an internal fortitude that, in the face of absolute disaster, all differences will be put aside. You'll notice in the case of a flood, okay, humans will fight to save everybody available. They don't, on the whole, look at somebody and go, oh my gosh, you're not the same color I am. I'm going to let you drown. I'm sorry, I didn't understand you saying, help, I'm drowning. I mean, you're in the water and you're going underwater and your hand comes up. You're saying something. I'm sorry, I didn't understand it. You're hooked. It's a universal human trait. You start going underwater, hand goes up, you splash around trying to stay above water. Your head keeps going underwater. It does not take a genius to figure this out. Conversely, the Srothians had 2 battleships that were caught in a black hole. Okay. Oddly enough, I did actually have a human witness with me when we pulled this off. But the Swazian High Council went, we're just going to let them die. It's too much of a risk to go and get them. Now, bear in mind, you get pulled into a black hole. It's a bad day. Not a very long one, but it's a bad day. But I was looking at how do I go about getting some of the writings I've got, get them over. Well, there's an easy way to do it. Tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with the creative process. Now, the off-worlders are watching humans to see how humans are going to handle this next rendition. Okay. As humans come to realize, they're starting to accept the fact that aliens are here, that the ancient races exist. Now, I'm going to show you something. And I just got to leave the room for half a moment to do it. Now, what I went to do, I used to date a life-size model. Okay. No, I don't have a picture of her and I don't have her here. But this is the actual physical size of a fairy. Okay. That's a life-size model. Okay. Essentially, Robert, that is correct. Okay. Essentially, they watch, the reality TV show called Earth 2024. Okay. Now, the funny part is I don't remember what year they're putting, but this is called the comical side of it is they refer to it as the fourth rock from the sun. Because there is a planet closer to the sun than Mercury. There's another one, and yes, NASA knows about it. Okay, there's another one called Vulcan. Okay, I know NASA knows about it because I grabbed the ephemeris for it off of a satellite, off of a site that the link came from NASA's site. Don't ask me how I found it. I stumbled across it. Okay, but when we realize, people talk about, science doesn't matter. Well, apparently science does matter. These little guys, very friendly individuals, but these are not off-worlders. Okay, these are the people that you see. Some of you see them close up. Okay, real people, real ancient races, meaning they evolved here on Earth. But these fairies are one of the groups that actually take care of Itzar herself, who you know as Earth, Gaia, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, a lot of different names. But think of it this way. I used to be known as a son, a grandson, now a father, a brother. What I have never been known as is a sister. Well, that's not true. I used to get teased a lot. Not because I was female and never had any intention on being that. I appreciate the accolades for Nathan there, Joe. I'm going to see if I've got the time to work with it tonight. I've got a few things on the go, and some of it is computer intensive. The neat part about this is when we look at the off-worlders, they are watching how humans are literally starting to realize, and here's the silly part. Many humans that are not in positions of power are starting to realize and behave as though the different races of humans are not a problem. Doesn't matter what your skin color, doesn't matter who you're sleeping with. What does matter, and it's like I told somebody one day, they literally could not believe I could care less if people are gay. I said, look, I don't care one way or the other. I will even accept a polite pass. One. After the first one, the odds are I'm not going to be all that polite about it. But then, I've never actually been all that subtle. Problem that I'm running into now is I'm watching the off-worlders, and there are those that go, hey, listen to these humans. These hominids are sitting here going, we're going to attack. Why don't we quit playing games? Why don't we just go down and attack them and prove them right? Fortunately, the counselor goes, not going to happen. Okay. I mean, let's face it. That's kind of like somebody with a can of gasoline going, I'm going to attack the anthill and see if they can survive. It's just not going to work well for the humans. But right now, the off-worlders are learning. The vegans, for instance, spend a lot of time talking to humans, and I do mean literally talking to them, because vegans are one race that if they abduct you, you're not going to have a good day. They have no pain center, which means they don't think anything at all about, like from a natural standpoint, about how do I make this experience less traumatic. You got to remember, with a vegan, in the middle of a battle, if they're fighting away and you take off one of their arms, okay, they don't feel pain, so it drops to the ground. The only thing they notice is because the arm is missing, they can no longer pick anything up with it. Okay. Now, I did, and it was really funny when I stumbled across it. People talk about, what about this issue about, do aliens have androids or robots? Well, I will tell you, and it caught me by surprise when I discovered it. But the Udina, okay, and before I go there, the Udina they're a hedopod race. They have 7 tentacles. Okay. What I was saying there, Philip, and welcome on board, by the way. The vegans, you cut off a vegan's arm, they won't even notice, except they won't be able to pick anything up. Okay. Which means when they're doing their experiments, when they're doing their testings and their analysis, they don't even consider, or more to the point, they didn't consider the issue of whether or not it hurt anybody until they got to Earth. And they are now in steady discussions with humans. Now, yes, it's a fringe group of the vegans that are in steady discussion to find out what this anomaly is, what this pain center is. They've got no grasp of it. But they are starting to realize that humans have a very firm grip on it. Philip, if you run your hand and don't do that, we'll just stop that. But I could take that comment and go so many really, really off-color directions with that, Philip. Philip just made a comment here. Not fair. We don't even get 1 tentacle. Now, I could take that all kinds of off-color ways. I'm not going to do that. This is called self-control. It doesn't happen often. But what I was saying about the Udina, okay, they have seven limbs. But what they do with the android, okay, they have a bipedal envirosuit. Neat part is you cut the arm off at the shoulder or at the elbow, in any one of the joints. They self-seal, okay? But they can push the tentacle out through that opening. But that's an exosuit. The neat part about it is in their exosuits, you can take the arm off and mix them all together because they don't put their arms down inside the arm sheath. They literally work it inside the abdomen. Okay, they've got a control board there. But I'm talking about inside their exosuits. Philip, in Japan, okay, if you watch the movie Alien, okay, starring Sigourney Weaver, they had a vehicle there on the loading docks in there that they used. They called it a lifter. Okay, I think they called it a lifter. But those particular dock machines are literally employed today. Okay, they are employed today in Japan on the docks for moving cargo. And then I know that there are at least 3 and possibly 4 militaries that have what are called MAP suits, man amplification. Okay, these are things, they're external suits designed. Okay, they literally are a spacesuit, or not spacesuit, but a powered suit of armor designed to enhance strength, enhance resilience, this sort of thing. Many of the tools that we have, yes, Blair, MAMP, Blair, my apologies, Philip, literally MAMP. In Aftermath, it was called MAMP armor. Yeah, I was noticing that the other day. I caught a blurb caught a blurb on YouTube that shows they've got exosuits now to help paraplegics actually walk. And in my eyes, this is fantastic. AI, not happy with, but that's me. Philip, depending on the suit, okay, there are suits that literally have, they literally have IR, UV, radar. There are a lot of the sensory organs that are replicated in some of these suits. Okay, so yes, mankind is growing. Okay, mankind is still suppressing a staggering amount of technology, mind you. Okay, but we got to remember, some of the technology they're designing, you got to wonder why they came up with the idea to design it. Now, I will tell you this. Mankind's got some brilliant stuff. Where it comes to weaponry, mankind does have high-intensity combat lasers. Okay, they also have something that I believe is called a hellbore. Mind you, it's a little big to pack around. Okay, but when you take a look at the Moldocs, they have something called a molecular disassociator, also known as a disintegration ray. It breaks down the molecular bond. Okay, but the off-worlders are looking at humans, as humans take an idea and go, I can't do that yet. There's got to be a way. And it's like giving a Rottweiler with lockjaw a bone. They won't let go. Oh, Philip, we already have that. Okay, in a manner of speaking. Now, if you ever watched the movie Abyss, okay, you remember when the guy had that blue gel pumped into his system? That is something the sea elves, the elfids at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, that is something I got to look up what they Wonder if I've got that book open. W. I believe that is the Waylash, if I recall correctly. Yes. No, the Waylash are not the ones that did that. I've got to look up I've got to go track down the name. Because I know I've got it. Oh. Yeah. Don't do that. Where are we here? Gotta go back up here. Yes, I've got my Race of the Worlds book open. And I don't know how to pop this up there, but you will have to wait 10 seconds for that one. I don't doubt it. By the way, I've got my door open. And I am back. Still all kinds of things going on from that end. Now, if I can remember where the heck I was, that'd be... Oh, I know what I was looking for. That's why I left it there. The other way. Out. There we are. You remember a while ago I mentioned that I had the name around here someplace of the Nordic race. We're looking at the Gedefni. Okay, these are the people that everybody calls Nords, or most people do. But when we are looking at them, these different races are watching humans going, okay, you are not psionically active on the whole. You don't have incredible technology to deal with. And yet, you've got this undying drive to succeed in spite of everything. Now, I will tell you, in an all-out war, mankind hasn't got a prayer against any one of these races. This doesn't mean mankind is in danger. Okay, it's just not one of those things you have to worry about. It's just one of those things that happens to be going on. Now, I have to close that down. Okay, where are we going here? Just looking at some of my missed while I walked out. Where are we here? Well, here's the funny thing, Joseph. There is a lot of things going on that are being reverse engineered. Humans have a staggering capacity to do it, but they've got nothing on the Xenon. Okay, the Xenon are literally a robotic race. They are built completely of mechanics. However, we are in the process of discussing with them the whole idea that, like, their race is really has been for centuries. Come across technology, come across a bioorganism, wipe it out because it is of a lesser quality. Well, we finally started to make headway with them. Okay, because you got to remember, the Xenon have this brilliant idea. Why they go, we've got to wipe it out because we're better. But the Xenon utilize biomechanical configurations to design their own evolution. So we finally got some of the people in positions of useful power going, wait a minute. Yes, we can cripple them, we can enslave them, we can do whatever. No, we cannot wipe them out. We require them. Remember what I told you. All things are equal. Now, all things are equal, well, they are, but all things are connected. You know, I look at this, and Robert's going, where are we? Those pirates have a lot to answer for. All the R's at the end of words. Radar, quasar, pulsar. You know, funny thing is, the pirates are, yes, they talk funny sometimes. Joseph, I'm going to pop a bubble here. Oh, sorry, that's the next generation, not the last. Okay, problem is, and we've got to realize this, I'm not complaining about AI. I'm telling you, if they come up with real AI, we've got a very big problem. What they've got right now is a brilliant program. Absolutely brilliant. Philip. Philip is asking, what's the difference between Nordic aliens, the ethnic Swedes, and Norwegian humans? The type of toys they have? Basically, it boils down to this. They look similar to the ancient Nords. That's why they called them Nordics. Okay. So they simply refer to the other races around them, called them Nordics. Of course, the people in the Nordic regions didn't call them Nordics. They were aliens. But the Nords themselves, the Nordic aliens, literally call themselves Gedefni. So when we look at it, humans take any sort of thing, and I'm talking about the natural drive. Remember what I mentioned? That when I mentioned that kids are not born prejudiced. Kids, as in child humans, are born curious. Oh, Philip, I said Gudefni. Let me see if I can get the spelling done right here. Where are we? There. That is not going to work well, so we'll do it this way. Let's do that. I put my pen down and forget what the heck I did with it. There it is. Now, understand, I know these races by different names, not always the same ones as other people. Okay. Where are we here? Okay. That is the name. Oh, I spelled that wrong. That was bad. I did. Forgot the U. Okay, let's try that again. There you go. That is what they call themselves. Okay. Now, from my understanding, and maybe I'm off on this, somebody else on Earth will have this one. Okay. Way back before the Japanese joined the global community, they referred to themselves as Nippon, as they referred to their land as Nippon. Now, how we came up and called it Japan, I don't know. Of course, I don't know how they came up and called a grizzly bear a grizzly bear. Okay. All I know is this is the names that I've been taught. Okay. So it really boils down to an issue of correcting a certain amount of issues. But there is so much that is going on. The off-worlders watch humans because humans have this undeniable drive to survive. Okay. In spite of the odds. So, yeah, we're looking at a lot of change taking place. Robert goes, because pre-Coffee Bear took too long to yell out. See, that was why they came and started calling it Duck. You know, I remember years ago, and it's become a rather joke. You know, I've seen some things that are just phenomenal. And one of the biggest things we got to look at is, people keep going, oh, we've got all these advancements because aliens have given them to us. Mankind has figured most of the stuff out on their own. Now, there have been some trades, absolutely. But what the off-worlders are watching humans for is to find out how good humans can get at the reverse engineering, at giant bridging problems. Okay, it really does boil down to a question of how do you actually move forward? Yeah. Philip goes, plus we now have the technology to poop in orbit. Yeah, and you know, Esau's been doing that for literally billions of years. Okay, that's how the Archon got into orbit in the first place. By the way, the Archon were not just from Esau. Okay, there's a lot of different places they come from. Absolutely, there is, Joseph. That's the other thing that the off-worlders are looking at. See, when we go to the ancient Elfid race, which was here way before humans got here, okay, and in all fairness, it's a toss-up. It's very much a toss-up as to whether or not the Moldaks got here before the Elfid. I know they did, but what happened was the Elfid were built, and before they left the valley they were built in, the Moldaks showed up on the southern end. What have we got here? Yeah. Robert White's going, but some of those shooting stars are not shooting stars. Before leaving orbit, they get rid of their garbage and refuse. Most of the garbage and refuse actually gets dumped into a star, as in the sun, into the sun. Okay, much more efficient, and besides that, it keeps it going. Mankind has a bad habit of polluting its own environment, but the off-worlders, they tend not to. Yes, some do. And usually they get reprimanded for it. One of the things you got to remember is that when we are looking at Earth itself, people have asked me, well, is Earth quarantined? Or they say, it's been quarantined, you can't come and go. Usually it's more like a military or a societal reprimand. Kind of like getting tagged for littering. Because the galactic garbage can happens to be the sign of the different stars. Because it literally converts all of that molecular debris into energy. Okay, that's also, by the way, where they end up putting bodies. If you end up with people dying in space, they set them they literally launch them. And contrary to popular belief, okay, when you're looking at most of the off-worlders, okay, I shouldn't say popular belief, but if you watch Star Trek and any of those spacefaring shows, somebody dies, you put them in a metal coffin, and fire them off to the sun. No. In the off-world community, certainly, person dies, got to get rid of it. So if you don't actually eat your dead, pop them into a pod, not into a pod, but into a chamber, and you fire them out without the extra material. Okay, because why waste the material? The body's already dead. And if you're not going to eat it, fire it off. Some of them will throw the dead into a fusion reactor. Okay, but there are other ways. And this is why I say, when we look at the one thing that the off-worlders are not doing, they are not here to enslave mankind to mine for gold. Gold is not the best thing in the periodic table. Now, I will tell you, I can't tell you what they are. Of course, I can't tell you what's on the periodic table of elements either. But I have seen a table about, I think it was early last spring. Okay, I got shown a periodic table of elements from off-world that had, I kid you not, 250 different elements. And yeah, Philip, that's exactly the point. Yeah, LA, and that does not surprise me. LA is going, certain peoples on Earth eat their dead, for respect, so they will go on living. And that's just it. I mean, they're a little bit more subtle about it. They tend to burn to cook them. When you look at most of the reptilian races, they look at it going, okay, he's dead. It's like you're sitting there at the dinner table, Grandpa keels over and dies of natural causes, as in old age. Oh, well, he was perfectly healthy. Grandpa, thanks so much. Really love to have you here. You're done. Rest in peace. On to the dinner table, and now dinner is served. Ultimately correct. The neat thing about it is the off-worlders have taken on, some of the ones that are hanging around, have taken on celebrating some of the Earth type holidays. Some of them had no real functional idea of how to go about the holidays. Bear in mind, some of their holidays are a little bit more twisted than humans. Okay, but they do enjoy some of the human holidays. Not the least of which is for the ones that are now local or have been stationed here for a while. Yes, they have taken on the idea of Christmas, but not so much a question of, oh, we believe in their Christ, so much as we believe in the idea of giving gifts to each other at that time of year. And there's so much going on from orbit. It's lit up like a Christmas tree down here. So they take a look at that. Some of them have literally learned how I hate to put it this way. Well, no, I don't. Some of the off-world races have learned how to truly party by watching humans. Okay. They would have done it by watching dwarves, but dwarves have a bad habit of closing windows. So we are looking at humans are literally educating the off-worlders in a lot of ways. Thing is, humans don't realize it, and they keep doing the one thing that doesn't make sense to the off-worlders. One of many things, in all fairness. And that is, humans keep looking at each other going, you're a different color. Therefore, you're worth less than I am. Or you believe in a different God. Therefore, you're worth less than I am. And the off-worlders are looking at it going, for such an argumentative, aggressive, childish race, they've got some pretty solid drive. Okay, and what you got to remember is the more you stay focused on getting your energy running right, on your healing, okay, coming back into balance, the more of an impact this is going to have on the off-worlders and on their ability to interact as well. Bear in mind, when you look at the Pleiadians, okay, Pleiadians, they will deal with anybody. They're very non-prejudiced, but they do have their limits. Okay, and what these different races have learned is that by watching certain people, you may be one of them. Okay, Lord knows I've ended up with way more contact than I would necessarily have gone looking for. But now what we're looking at is coffee that's chewy. Not happy. I don't personally like chewy coffee. One of the neat things about the whole setup here is we have an opportunity here with the off-worlders now being more and more, and they're not being accepted as in, oh great, they're here, so much as more and more people, if I recall the numbers correctly, about a decade ago, about 62% of the human population believed that aliens existed. That aliens are here. It's a toss-up whether they're here for negative or positive reasons. But I believe that number, by the way, I shouldn't have said humans. I should have said that number, if I recall correctly, came out of the States. Yeah, Philip's going, I want to see a dance recital of humanoid aliens with tentacles. Do I have one? I know they exist. I'm just wondering if I've got one in, I think maybe the Naga. Maybe the Naga. Nope. Naga don't have tentacles. And besides that, they're not humanoid. Where are we here? Just making note of another addition to the positive perspectives here, as in literally a list of the different races that we're dealing with. Like I said, there's a lot of change coming on. Now, tonight, what's tonight? No, this is the 22nd. So this week, the main edition is going out. I've got one as soon as I get off. As soon as I get off to get done this stream, there's a couple of people getting an email right away. Because, well, they have to. Well, I've got to stop and grab a bite for dinner, and then I'll get back at it. But we are looking at the consortium is roughly, like the last count I heard was about 2,500 races. Okay, some of them are very similar. I should probably call them 2,500 member planets, like member species. Now, some of those species have more than one planet. Okay, can I show you on an astrological land or an astronomical map, as in a star chart? Not a prayer. Of course, in all fairness, I can't show you much in the way of human geology and geography. Not my strong suit. So I'm looking at a lot of changes that I'm taking a look at. And let me see here. All in all, what we are looking at is the more organized you get with your life, the more attention that the off-worlders are going to pay to bringing bringing their lives into order. And net result, we can maintain relative peace in this sector. The fact that the consortium flagship is in the area and a small armada, well, small. Think armada's the wrong word. I don't know. What do you call a dozen ships as far as the fleet goes? Or maybe that's all it is. Okay. But I found out 25 years ago about a fleet in orbit of our sun. That was priceless, the reaction I got. Because you got to remember, way back at the time of news groups and BBSs, it wasn't as well organized as Facebook and what have you are. So I was on a news group one day and somebody made a comment. Now you got to remember, back then, okay, when you were communicating, if you got a response, you were lucky. And then, of course, you had to go and try and figure out where it was. Okay, but it has improved exponentially. Now what we've got is communication types of communication that can literally run miles into outer space. Okay, how many? I don't know yet. Okay, but then I'm not the one that studies modern rocketry. Okay, last time I studied rocketry, I was on Atlantis, which was a neat trip in itself. But now what we're looking at is that the off-worlders are looking at what humans are up to. Humans are advancing. Now, before anybody jumps on that, humans have already moved off Earth. There are already humans at various different posts. Okay. And no, you don't hear about it because, well, somebody out there decided to say, hey, nope, we didn't go back to the moon. Which, you can go that way if you'd like. I know of personally, on EO, on Titan, okay, on Mars, there is an outpost on Mars. Okay, they have outings to Venus to visit the Venusians. I'll tell you what, you want to see some artwork. The Venusians are some of the best. Okay, but the Venusians, they literally, before mankind ever came along, they swung a treaty with the Martokians because the Martokians are a warrior clan. Okay, Venusians are extreme pacifists. but they do understand, I shouldn't say extreme, okay? On the whole, they have dedicated virtually none of their resources or research to combat. They came to the conclusion, rightfully so, that war has never brought peace. But what they did, because the Moldocs do not have a strong creative bond. Okay, so the Venusians take care of bringing culture to the Moldocs, and the Moldocs will run interference and protect the Venusian planet. Okay, but the thing you got to remember, they are learning, as in the off-worlders on the whole, are learning that you've got to be able to, that there is such a thing as a beneficial treaty, where both parties get something positive. Humans can do it. Humans, unfortunately, have been taught over the last several centuries, over the last several millennia, to be greedy, self-serving, and fearful. This is not productive. Okay, so what we have to remember, or what would be wise to remember, is the more open we are with each other, the better we can actually connect. One other thing that we have to look at, I got to take a look at that. There we are. One of the things we have to look at is humans bring a lot to the table. Their creativity, their drive to succeed in spite of all odds. And I don't know if this is a good thing, but a staggering number of humans have an ego that would make a dwarf whimper. Okay, dwarves have this brilliant idea. They're unstoppable in a lot of ways. Now the Sargon, the Sargon are a great race. They do look down on people. I think that has to do with them being the short ones, being 20 feet tall. I mean the short grown ones. Okay, on average they're upwards of 30. My apologies. That is wrong. Sargons run 50 to 20. The Anunnaki run into the 30s. Okay, but the Sargon look down on everybody going, we don't care who wins the war. We want to rule everything after it's over. They're kind of passive in the fact that they don't want to start the fight. Kind of like they didn't want to start the fire. Now, the other thing that has happened that is taking place, and this has to do with the amount of celebration that humans have for beneficial things. You take a look at the Moldocs, the Tormenon. You look at these warrior races. Yes, they have celebrations, but it's usually a question of, hey, wasn't that a phenomenal? Wasn't that a party? Unfortunately, when they're talking party, they're talking bloodbath. But humans have a tendency of celebrating positive events. Okay, this confuses many of the off-worlders, but some of them have taken to it. Okay, now there are some races where having the Moldocs, the one thing the Moldocs did absorb of human design, okay, is humans track birthdays. Now, when you're only living for a few years, knowing what your birthday is kind of advantageous in some ways. Like, Laborians don't bother counting their birthdays, especially not on Terra. See, you got to remember, Laborians, their life, they only live about 35 of their years. Unfortunately, that 35, let's see here. That 35 years, okay, in Terran terms works out to 12,600,000,000 years. No, I lied. I can't read numbers. 12,600,000 years is about how long in Terran terms a Laborian will live. Okay, that's just the way that is. Now again, what we're looking at here, get the clutter in your life sorted out, and that doesn't mean just the physical stuff. If you got a bunch of stuff running around up here telling you, oh, we watched the news and these people are at war, quit picking sides. The one that actually puts the weapons down, okay, and starts pushing for peace, that's the one you pay attention to. Because that's the one, that's the race or the nation that is trying to bring peace to the world. Not the one that keeps shooting people. Okay, and yes, I understand the chain of command. This is why, much of it confused me when the government said, no, we cannot put you into the military because we're afraid, something about epileptics and automatic weapons. Okay, and yet they will take mentally off-center people and teach them demolitions. I don't know, I look at this kind of tongue-in-cheek going, what, the kill ratio isn't high enough? But tomorrow we're going to be looking at the creative side of healing. How you can literally take that and through a number of different venues, you can literally visualize, implement, and literally co-create a much healthier world. Okay, especially in your own body and mind. Okay, I will tell you this. One of the biggest benefits I found to gaming, to playing D&D, is if I'm really stressed out, I can get into a game of D&D, kill something and feel better without going to jail. I don't know about you, but I don't do the vertical bar scene well. Now, we are literally, and yes, I have been keeping an eye on that, although I'm not on the right page for it. Where are we? Right there. And Storm is warning me there, too. Yeah, Nathan goes, not wanting to start the fight, so they sound like management and enforcers. Ultimately, this is correct. Philip is just saying, I heard a mediator say the best way to get both sides to agree is to convince both sides that they're getting a better deal than the other. And in a lot of ways, that's the way humans have to deal with it. Oh, I'm going back up here. Oh, yeah, I missed a few of these. I was on the wrong thing here. Philip. Yeah. Oh, I understood what you were referring to there as far as tentacles for limbs rather than tentacles for hair. Well, the ones with tentacles for hair, they exist. And there are some really neat things that are taking place there, which I'll get into on another day. Joe, as far as UFOs go, could you just be walking along and a UFO could possibly creep up behind you? Happens more often than you may realize. Okay. Yeah, convoys are another issue. But convoys do exist in the interstellar world because what you end up with is cargo haulers. People that think that, they're the truckers. I love the truckers. This is why in the Ilderbaching Chronicles, I've got a group called the Bully Brigade. Okay. And yes, I am starting to look for the three-dimensional, what was it? Mattel, I think it was. Mattel or Revel. They used to put models together of different semis. And yes, I am starting to look at getting the three-dimensional figures built. Okay. I just scroll down here. And we are down to what? Down to our last 10 by the look of it. Yeah. Now, tomorrow, okay, today I really do appreciate the fact you guys are all here. You know, let us just hit one last refresh. Hey, we went up again. Bonus. Just hitting refresh on my thing so I can give an accurate count. We are looking, actually, I think we went up, I'm not sure. But we are currently at 614 subscribers. Now, you know, we are still dealing with the healing side of things. But tomorrow, we're going to explore the whole healing side. You know, the whole healing side as far as how creativity can actually be utilized and effectively alter your health in a positive fashion. And when I say your health, I mean whether you're an ancient race, a human, an off-worlder, any other species out there. The imagination is the key to the higher senses. Okay, so tomorrow, and now I've got a list of, and I'm going to do this. Tomorrow I'm going to start doing this. Is looking at the different books I've already got written. Okay. And what I've got, okay, I'd like you guys to, if you drop into the Buy Me a Coffee, okay, you'll see seven books that I have actually got written. Okay. What I'd like is some input into which books to start working with. Because I'm going to take the first 15, 20 minutes of the Tuesday where we're dealing with creativity and start looking at some of the books that are available. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I'm looking at what I've been writing. Okay. But I'm also looking at the idea of bringing some of the works that you guys have got together and get it to print. I'm finally in a place where I can actually start seriously looking at that. Yeah, I mean, Lucky 7 brings to mind another thing, the early bird gets the worm. That's what the optimist says. The early bird gets the worm. The pessimist says the early worm gets got. But we are getting down in the last few minutes here. One thing I am going to be looking at, and I've got a couple of people that have mentioned they are artists, or they've got 3D printers, access to t-shirts, that sort of thing. Okay. And we are absolutely going to be looking at enhancing that over the next few months. With this in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. We'll be dealing with creativity and its effect on healing. On personal healing as well as societal. But until then, thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. So until tomorrow, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.